Now, one other aspect of failing that makes it so difficult is the public humiliation aspect of it, right? Which is what we kind of spoke about a bit earlier. Now, if you're going through that, what would you recommend that people do to overcome that? Because that can be really, really hard, right? In terms of like being perceived in a certain way. Because even if you tell yourself, hey, that's not me, like the reality is, as a human being, you're going to respond based on the way people view you or look at you or talk about you. It's just like human thing, right? So if you're going through something like that, how do you overcome it?
So first, I would recognize it is hard. I think it's fair to name it as it is. You don't want to just sweep
Yeah.
it under the rug. You got to feel the feelings. And so, yeah, public humiliation is hard. Nobody likes that. It's not fun for anybody. Some things that I think help reframe it are that, first of all, just a general truism is people who kind of hate on you are not those who are doing better than you for the most
Yeah.
part. It is people who
Yeah.
are jealous of you, who are not doing
Yeah.
as well as you. And so when there's someone who is going to try to publicly humiliate you, for the most part, those aren't the people who you're trying to be anyway, because those are the people who you've already surpassed. So you need to look toward role models who are going to lift and build you up. Those are the ones, who are kind of above that you're trying to get to their level. And those people, by and large, want you to succeed or would be willing to help you succeed. And so they're not going to humiliate you for failure. Another thing that comes to mind is Brene Brown is quoted as really she's quoting Theodore Roosevelt. So I'm quoting someone who's quoting someone else, but
Yeah.
she talks about a Theodore Roosevelt speech where it's a famous speech called "In the Arena," and the speech
Yeah.
is essentially that when someone is not in the arena with you, doing battle with you, that they don't get to have an opinion on how you're doing it. And so people oftentimes want to look at you from the outside and give critiques or criticisms. I'm not interested in that if you are not also fighting the fight. So if you're not in it
Mm-hmm.
with me, I don't want to hear about it. And also, along that same vein, people will oftentimes, they like to list problems. There's problems with this or that or the other. I'm not interested in that either. I'm interested in solution building. And so if there's some sort of public humiliation going on, I'm interested in how do we get better? How do we evolve? How do we grow from that? And if someone is just stuck in pointing out the problems or in giving you criticism without any sort of constructive aspect or element to that, they don't get to have an opinion on the matter, because I'm not going to allow that. And so there's also some level of that boundary setting that I talked about earlier, where that's what
Yeah.
we have control of is our own boundaries. And then the last thing I would say is to own our own mistakes. And there's a lot of power in that. So when we fail from something, just call it like it is, like, wow, that was a disaster. And when you do that, when you call out your own mistakes or you point out like, yep, I'm aware that was a failure, then that takes that power away from someone else who might try to do that to cut you down. It's like, yep, I've already acknowledged it right from the get-go, so you don't have to do it because I'm aware. And by kind of taking that wind out of their sails, it helps to lessen that humiliation that they might try to confer upon you, and instead reframes the situation into now one where you're like, yep, it was a disaster, a total and utter disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And now where do we go from here? So it kind of like flips it on its head. Instead of the focus being on the disaster, focus is now on how do we move forward in a productive way, and where do we go where we can improve from this and get better for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's really important, because like you'll notice oftentimes, when people are hating, right? It's because like they're trying to convince themselves that, hey, you know what? I made a good choice by not taking that risk, right? See how, that person failed, they had the, I guess, courage to go and do, but they failed, right? So good thing I didn't do that. And so like you have to frame them in a certain way so it makes you feel safe, right? Like you'll see that everywhere, especially online. Like, I mean, especially nowadays it's at a whole new level, but like you'll see it pretty much everywhere, right? And then you also mentioned talking to superiors who understand the process, or obviously if you don't have anyone like that in your life, you can always go towards books or podcasts or like different interviews with people who understand the process, and like just by watching them talk about it, you can feel and understand that, hey, this is just a part of the process, right? So that'll give you that safety, in a sense that you're looking for. And then you also mentioned, which is really, really good. It's just like you have to accept it, right? Because like, I mean, have you seen that human consciousness scale where it's like peace, joy, love? It's like a scale that shows you human emotions and the vibrational frequency that's going to be like associated with it. If you want, I can send it to you. So basically, like when you just accept it, it's one of the highest forms of human consciousness, right? The only few above it is like love, joy, peace, reason, and stuff like that. So when you accept it, like you can take yourself away from shame, which is all the way at the bottom, like shame, guilt, apathy, and then you rise up. So, I mean, they can say what they want, like you've already accepted it, right? So you're in a much healthier mental space, which is really interesting.